What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Bro Schmo, just in case you did not know. So, back again for a 2021 NFL mock draft. We're taking an early look at the 2021 NFL draft class, or the potential NFL draft class. Just give y'all some names to keep an eye on as we get to that 2020 college football season. It's going to be a hoot. But hopefully you're doing well amid everything going on in the world. And if you haven't already, go ahead, take a gander at my 2020 NFL mock draft. I did 3 rounds. I did trades in the first round. And it looks like that will get above 500 likes. So I'm going to do a 7-round mock draft. It'll span over a few videos. And there will probably be no trades in that because that would be chaotic as I don't know what. But yeah, the draft order, I just got it. It's based off the odds in Vegas for each team. So if you're mad about where your team or a team ended up, blame Vegas, I guess. But go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. It really helps the channel a ton, and it's always much appreciated, much obliged. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think and who you think I should have been included. But let's go ahead, let's get in. I'm not going to dwell too much on why a team may or may not end up there. So let's go in with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're picking here. They probably got their quarterback of the future. I imagine they did, whether it's Burrow or someone else. So let's get them some tackle help because let's match somebody up with Jonah Williams. We're gonna get Sewell out of Oregon. He is a generational talent at tackle. You hear that phrase get passed out a lot, but I mean, if he was eligible to declare this season, then he would have been by far the best tackle prospect in this draft. I think there would have been a case for the Redskins at 2 to actually pick him over Chase Young. He is literally the Chase Young of the offensive tackle class in this draft. He is that good. And then the Washington Redskins, I imagine they're going to move on from Haskins if they're picking here. So let's go with Justin Fields out of Ohio State. I currently have Fields over Lawrence, and this is why. Fields, he worked with worse weapons by comparison to Trevor Lawrence, and I think he was just better. To me, he looks better at making NFL throws than Lawrence. His accuracy and ball placement on passes 10 yards or longer down the field was better. He's got better mobility. He was among the best quarterbacks under pressure this last season. That's why I have Fields currently ranked over Lawrence. And then Jacksonville Jaguars, I guess Gardner Minshew's just a backup in this scenario. So Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. With all the hating it sounded like I just did on Trevor Lawrence, doesn't mean I hate him as a prospect though. Lawrence, he's great. Just in regards to Fields, I think Fields is better. Lawrence, though, he has the arm. He has the look. He's tall and he just looks like your old school prototypical quarterback. He's a great leader. He graded highly in his own right for PFF. He started this past season, the first 3 games, pretty rocky. But from there on out, I think only Joe Burrow was playing better football. Now, don't be mistaken by me putting Fields over Lawrence. Lawrence is still a top quarterback prospect, and he could end up being the number 1 quarterback by the end of this season. So yeah, it's just 2 really good quarterbacks. Carolina Panthers with no quarterback left, or at least left I would draft here. So you just give Teddy Bridgewater some more weapons, or at least better weapons. I don't think Robbie Anderson is it. You can make a case for more, but I went with Jamar Chase out of LSU. He reunites with Joe Brady. Chase was the best receiver in college football last season. He recorded 84 catches for 1,780 yards, 20 touchdowns. 9 of those touchdowns came on 20-plus yard passes while facing press coverage. So that meant the ball was in air for about 20 yards before he got his hands on it. To put that in perspective, there was only one other receiver, being Clemson's Justin Ross, who had more than 9 catches of 20 yards or more in all of college football. And Chase did that for touchdowns. Chase, he didn't test as a burner out of high school. He had a 4.6 40, I believe. But, I mean, he creates so much separation. And even if he can't, he was 14 to 16 on contested catches. The dude's just a beast. The Miami Dolphins, if we don't have a quarterback yet, let's get our quarterback a little help. Justin Ross out of Clemson, I just mentioned him. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, very physical, one of the best deep ball receivers in this draft, one of the best vertical threats in this draft. Ross, he has great hands as well. Think DK Metcalf, but with a more extensive route tree and just better production overall. New York Jets, they're not going quarterback. In Darnold, they trust. So let's get them some corner help because they could use that. Patrick Surtain, the second out of Alabama. He's got sacred lineage, if you couldn't tell by the name. He's coming from the loins of the Dolphin great himself, Patrick Surtain. And this guy, he was heavily used since his freshman season, and he has a large sample size of elite play. He also has he's one of the best deep ball defenders in this draft class. This is a very good cornerback draft class, as we'll get into it. He has all the elite traits or elite corner traits you want to see. He's got long arms. He's 6'2", 203. Potentially has 4.4 speed. The guy's just ridiculous. Detroit Lions, I imagine they might move on from Stafford at this point. So I got him getting Jamie Newman out of Georgia. He just transferred from Wake Forest. I love Newman. I had a 3rd round grade on him before he decided to stay for this season. So the move to Georgia, I think, will benefit him to some degree. He's working with better talent there, but that offense isn't designed to really highlight his strengths, being his big arm and his deep ball accuracy. It's just Georgia, their offense doesn't work that way. He's among the few dark horse quarterback prospects in this draft that can probably make a case for himself being a top pick. This draft class for quarterback looks pretty good as well, though. The New York Giants, I got them getting some weapons for DJ there. We're going Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. Bateman, the dude outshined Tyler Johnson this last season. He's just good. Bateman's that good. He was in the top 20 for contested catches and broken tackles. He's probably the best pure route runner, and no other receiver even came close to his rate of 15-plus yard receptions. He's got good size at 6'2", 210, and he should be in this discussion of top receiver, him and Chase. Arizona Cardinals, let's get a replacement for Patrick Peterson eventually. Shaun Wade at Ohio State. Now this year, Wade, he needs to knock that pesky title he probably has of slot only corner. Now with Okudah and Arnett gone, he should be able to play on the outside. He's super athletic. I mean, he's so athletic. It forced Ohio State to opt for more nickel packages just to get this guy on the field. So he's very talented. The Atlanta Falcons, I got them going corner too because they don't have much there. I got him getting Isaac Taylor-Stewart out of USC. Taylor, he has all the traits to be an elite cover 3, or to be elite in a cover 3 scheme, which is perfect for Atlanta. His size, 6'2", 203. He's got elite short area quickness, long arms. He just needs to be smarter as a defender, and he should be a top 15 pick. Miami Dolphins, they got this pick from the Texans. They're going offensive tackle Jackson Carman out of Clemson. He really solidified the left side for Trevor Lawrence, and he was only a sophomore, so he's going to do it again this year, and I think he should be better. He was among the best run blockers, and he didn't allow a single sack. He did a very good job against Chase Young in the playoff game. Also, the guy's a former 5-star recruit, so he's got some pedigree. Denver Broncos, if they can't get a long-term deal done with Justin Simmons, and Kareem Jackson's pretty old, I think they may opt for a safety here. I got Trevon Moehrig out of TCU. The dude's a ball hawk, picking off 4 passes last season. He allowed a completion percentage of 32%. He can line up anywhere. He has lined up everywhere for the Horned Frogs, and he is among the best defensive backs in a very, very strong class for secondary. Chicago Bears, let's get him a new tackle. Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. So Leatherwood was already talked about being a first-round pick in the 2020 draft. So he decided to stay, so he's going to be a first-round pick here. He may leave a little bit to be desired as a run defender, but his pass production is top-notch. He allowed no sacks, and he only allowed 1 hit on the quarterback last season, and that came against the other likely first rounder in the 2020 class, Clayvon Chazon. Now, if you can minimize his penalties, he had 9 last season. He should be a top 15 pick. Then we got the Cleveland Browns. Let's assume Myles Garrett might not re-sign. So I got him getting Gregory Rousseau out of Miami. Now, probably a lot of people have Rousseau a lot higher. And it's not because I don't have him that high, not because I don't like him. The dude's 6'6", 260. He possesses scary strength. He's got very good quickness. However, he's still very much a raw prospect. He won with his physical upside last season. I mean, he had a 4-sack game against Florida State's offensive line, if you want to call it that. They weren't good last year. The dude, he's still learning. He's still learning the nuances of being an elite pass rusher, being a pass rusher in general. He was a former wide receiver in high school. He also played safety in high school. Wild, right? And by his own admission, he says he's still learning. This year will be a good measurement of his development, and he can find himself in that top 5 discussion with displayed improvement of hand technique, hand placement, displaying a variety of different pass rush moves in his arsenal. So he can make that case. And side note, this is a very weak edge class. Just looking at it right now. Tennessee Titans, you signed Tanner for so long, and Corey Davis is a free agent. Let's get a receiver. Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. Waddle, he may be undersized, but he's among the most explosive receivers over the last 2 seasons. Only CeeDee Lamb averaged more yards after the catch during that span. Like I said, size, it may be a concern, but with that type of playmaking and speed, it just doesn't come around too often. And the NFL is starting to get more... They're starting to care less about size at receiver, or to some regards. So I think he can find himself in the first round. Las Vegas Raiders. I wanted to highlight a linebacker here. Let's get I don't know. I know they signed our boy Nick for a 3-year deal, but they could definitely upgrade him at this pick if they wanted to. And Mekhi Parsons out of Penn State would be that. He finished as PFF's top linebacker, and he should be a hot commodity by draft time due to stout run defender. He's phenomenal as a pass rusher. He could clean up a little bit in coverage, though, and by no means am I saying he was bad in coverage. He allowed no touchdowns, but I mean he allowed the highest, I guess, amount of yards he allowed in coverage was 50, but yeah, he could still get better. And if he does, he could definitely be in this discussion here. And then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got this from the Rams. We're going cornerback because there is not a top corner on that team. Paulson Adebo out of Stanford. In 2019, if you can believe it or not, because people had this guy in the first round for like the 2020 draft. But 2019 was a pretty down year for Adebo. He allowed more yards per coverage snap. He surrendered 3 more touchdowns than 2018. We really can't, I can't forget that game against Central Florida where Gabriel Davis just owned him badly. Still, like I said, he was largely regarded as a first-round prospect if he decided to declare. He did not, and if he could return to that 2018 form, then he should be in the mix for the first round once again. The Minnesota Vikings, they have no cornerbacks. So let's get Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. He has great size. He's 6'2", 207. He's one of the best zone corners in this class. And you may be like, well, why would the Vikings take him? Because he's not a one-trick pony. He can succeed in man coverage as well. He allowed a passer rating of 29.2 while hauling in 4 interceptions, 9 pass breakups. Like I said, the guy he's got the size to play man coverage. And another dominant season, he should be a top 10 pick, in my opinion. And then the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's get offensive tackle help because I assume they may have gotten a quarterback this draft. So I got him getting Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. Cosmi is extremely athletic. I mean, the guy, he caught a touchdown last season, and honestly, he looked no different than a tight end moving out there. He kept Sam Ehlinger upright. He only allowed 1 sack over almost 600 pass blocking snaps. He's just an elite pass protector, and he'd be ideal for a zone blocking scheme. Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Costanzo, he might be entering his last season in the NFL, so let's get his replacement. We got Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. This guy is one of my under the radar picks to sneak into that top tackle discussion. Slater was above average his first 2 seasons playing on the right side, but he moved to left tackle last season, and he just took his game to another level. In my opinion, only Sewell was better, and I mean, this guy, he even put up a good effort against Chase Young, and honestly, that was probably Young's biggest test last season. So just another dark horse to watch creep up into the maybe top 10. Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger needs a replacement. Let's get one. Tanner Morgan out of Minnesota. Whether he was under pressure or whether it was a clean pocket, he was among the best in college football last year. He was masterful just at seeing and calling plays at the line. He edges out Iowa State's Brock Purdy here because Morgan, he's just simply better outside of structure than Purdy was. He was just better when things went to hell, you know. Green Bay Packers, we're going receiver because our boy Devontae Adams, he needs himself a partner. He's lonely. So we're going Amon-Ra St. Brown out of USC, the best name. That's a top 10 name if I've ever heard one. The guy's 6'1", 195. He was primarily used as a short to intermediate threat, but 5 of his 6 touchdowns came on passes of 20-plus yards or more, and he hauled in 5 of 6 contested passes of that type, which means the ball had to be in the air for over 20 yards. So this may suggest that he can be a vertical threat as well, and if that's the case, he's probably one of the most complete receivers in this draft. Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson needs help on the line. Let's get him help. Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State. I really wanted to put Davis higher on this list because I think he may be in that Quentin Nelson territory of top 10 guards you should take. But I want to withhold judgment for now because last year was the only year he started, so I want to see a little more sample size. He didn't allow a sack or a hit, and that was over 453 pass blocking snaps, and he was dominant as a run defender. Philadelphia Eagles, I went corner because of course I did. Tyson Campbell out of Georgia. I love Campbell's combination of size, 6'2", and speed. He's one of the fastest corners in this draft. He does need to pack on a little more weight. He's about 180, but Campbell, he can hang, like I said, he can hang with any receiver. He might have Henry Ruggs speed. My only 2 concerns is that Georgia's system teaches corners to be overtly physical down the field. That Georgia system teaches corners bad habits. So that's a worry there, and I want to see him be more of a playmaker. At the big like a year ago around this time when before the year started for the 2019 season, I talked about Jeffrey Okudah in the same manner, where I wanted to see him become more of a playmaker, and he did just that. And look at him, he's gonna be a top 5 pick. Campbell, he has yet to register an interception in his career. If he could become more of a playmaker on defense, then sign me up. This guy can go high. Like I said, this corner class is really good. Buffalo Bills, I wanted to highlight the tight end class here. So let's get Dawson Knox. Let's run those 2 tight end sets. Why not? So I got Charlie Collar out of Iowa State, excuse me. He's currently my highest ranked tight end. And like I said, I wanted to highlight all the position groups. And overall, this tight end class looks a lot better than the 2021. And this guy, he could definitely be a first round pick. He's 6'6", 252. He's split time in line and in the slot. He's a mismatch nightmare. The guy's a deadly vertical threat, often used on those crosser routes, so he gets behind coverage. He's for 6'6", 252. He's pretty sneaky, and with that size, he should be a reliable, solid red zone threat. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Ronald Jones. He's average, subpar. We're gonna go with the best running back in this draft, Travis Etienne out of Clemson. If you're not new to the channel, you know I don't like the idea of drafting running backs early, especially in the first round, unless they are exceptional, unless they are special. And Etienne is that. He improved as a pass catcher last year. 37 receptions, 432 yards, 4 touchdowns. He broke 90 tackles on his 207 carries. And like I said, that's not taking into account his receptions. He's a home run threat anytime with the ball in his hands, and we saw that in the playoffs. I love Travis Etienne. The New England Patriots, like I said, this is Vegas' betting odds. I don't think they're going to be here. I don't think they're going to be in the playoffs, but that's how they have it. So let's get some playmakers. Rondale Moore out of Purdue. Moore, he's kind of in the same boat as Jalen Waddle in terms of size, but he has had 37 broken tackles over the last 2 seasons. And keep in mind, he only played 4 games in 2019. He's very much so a screen and slot type of receiver. So if he really wants to elevate his stock, if he can prove to be a difference maker downfield, then awesome. That unfortunately means he needs to get good quarterback play to give him those opportunities. So one could only hope. Dallas Cowboys. I wanted to get him some secondary help because they lost Byron Jones. Clinton-Dix is on a 1-year deal. I'm sure Xavier Rhodes' contract is coming up soon. I could be wrong about that. So I went another TCU safety, Adarius Washington. He is a tremendous athlete, and he will only be a redshirt sophomore in 2020. He can close the windows shut. He is rangy. He has a good nose for the football. He had 5 interceptions last year. Size is going to be the biggest concern with him. He was listed at 5'8". He was in high school. He was listed at 5'10", so we could assume maybe he's about 5'9". And he's only 179 pounds. But keep in mind, he'll be 20 after the 2020 season, so the guy can still grow. So he might not just be a slot option, but I wanted to include him here because he's very special. New Orleans Saints. Sheldon Rankins, he'll be a free agent, right? So let's go in defensive interior because this one's a steal. Marvin Wilson out of Florida State. I once considered Wilson on par, if not a little below, Derek Brown and Javon Kinlaw. This guy, he kind of petered down the stretch, and then he suffered an ankle injury that ended his season. I believe it was an ankle. But I like his ability to play anywhere between the 5 to 0 tech. He's a stout run defender, and mark my words, and you can at me at this. He's a better pass rusher than Derek Brown. Shots fired. Baltimore Ravens. I don't think Judon is long for the roster of the Ravens, so let's get a pass rusher, maybe. Chris Rumpf, the second out of Duke. Now, I could see this guy maybe moving to off-ball linebacker in the NFL, similar to Zach Bond, because he's only 225 pounds, but his pass rush prowess is unbelievable. He really was just a rotational player last season for the Blue Devils. He only had 409 snaps in 2019, but the guy, he had a pass rush win rate of 30.8 and a pressure rate of 25.7, and it ranked first last season, above Chase Young. I'm just saying, that's wild. He possesses just good lateral movement. He's got great timing. His speed, his explosion, his first step are all scary. He uses his long arms to get leverage on tackles. And in the ACC, you're not seeing great tackle play compared to like the SEC or the Big Ten. So yeah, man, this guy. He shoots the gaps. You could check out a highlight reel. He's, like I said, great timing. And if the guy has plenty of time to bulk up. He's only a redshirt sophomore. And after him and Rousseau, there really aren't any edge rushers that are worthy of a first-round pick. Like I said, this is a weak class. You can make cases for guys like Clemson's Xavier Thomas, but he severely lacks production. And maybe Miami's Quincy Roche, but the dude's undersized. So I'm just saying that the edge class don't look too great. San Francisco 49ers, I got him going for a replacement for Joe Staley. We're going Walker Little out of Stanford. And if you're not new to the channel, you know I'm not the biggest fan of Walker Little. I just feel he's a bit overrated. He's overhyped. I just don't think he's athletic enough to play tackle. He probably, for me, projects better at guard. And I think at guard, he could definitely be in that first round discussion, but that could all change. His season was cut short in 2019. So if he comes out in 2020, he has a healthy season with solid play. Maybe I'm wrong about him at tackle. Just keep an eye on Little when they face Oregon, because his performance against Kayvon Thibodeau, who 2022 draft, just saying, this guy's going to be a top 5 pick. But that'll be his performance there will be a good indicator of what position he'll end up playing in the NFL and where he'll go. And then for the last pick, Kansas City Chiefs. Let's just assume Chris Jones, that they're going to trade him and not sign him. So I got him getting a defensive interior. Levi Onwuzurike out of Washington. He might be the best nose tackle in this class, but he could also line up in the A and the B gaps. He's got a great motor. He's a phenomenal pass rusher. Could be a first-round pick. But that's it for the video. Go ahead and do the YouTube thing because it's always much appreciated. Much obliged. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.